The late 18th century in France was defined by the French Revolution, a period of radical political and societal upheaval stemming from Enlightenment ideas, severe financial crisis, and deep social inequality under the Ancien regime. It saw the end of absolute monarchy, the rise and fall of radical republicanism, including the Reign of Terror, and the eventful rise of Napoleon, fundamentally reshaping French and world history with its ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Here we meet Prince Adam, who is met with an enchantress who places a spell on him for his selfish, uncaring, entitled behavior and temper, thus turning him into a beast. Prince Adam, better known as the Beast, was self absorbed, spoiled, selfish, superficial, and had narcissistic traits. An enchantress casted a spell upon the prince and the whole entire castle due to his temper, superficial ways, and selfishness. He would need to learn how to love and be loved in return in order to break the spell. Due to the prince's circumstances, he began to lose hope in ever finding love, but he still had so many lessons to learn. His fate would change the day Belle decided to swap places with her father so that he could be free. So, what will this PowerPoint cover? This PowerPoint is going to cover the dynamic between Belle and Gaston. We're also going to talk about the dynamic between Beast and Belle. And it's also important to touch on Gaston's friendship with LeFou because it adds to Gaston's character and we get a better feel for a part of the reason, a small part of the reason as to why Gaston is the way he is and why he chooses a friend like LeFou in the first place. We're also going to touch on the Bimbettes. Even though the Bimbettes have small roles throughout the movie, it's still very important to note them because this plays a part once again in Gaston's character and why he behaves the way he does. We're also going to talk about the empath and the narcissist. The empath being Belle and the narcissist being the Beast and Gaston. And we're going to answer the question, can people really change? In late 18th century France, female education was largely limited and segregated by class, focusing primarily on domestic duties, morality, and social graces to prepare women for their roles as wives and mothers. Women were generally excluded from academic and professional studies. So in this clip that we just saw, we can see Gaston's attitude and behavior right off the bat. Keep in mind, this was during a time where it was frowned upon for women to get an education and learn how to read and write. The men were in control and made most, if not all, of the decisions. During these times, men felt like a woman's place was around the house. So, for Gaston, the character, the traits were narcissistic, entitlement, misogynistic, highly competitive, and very much attention seeking. Gaston's reason for wanting Belle was because she was a challenge for him. As someone highly competitive and a huntsman at that, he wanted to conquer her. He saw her as a trophy wife. Although Belle had kind of like a girl next door kind of look, she was still beautiful. People could see her beauty in her. But Belle was not interested in Gaston. But Gaston's ego would not allow him to see this. And anytime Belle would turn Gaston away, he would actually get a rise out of that. And it propelled him to want to conquer her even more. So it just made it even more of a turn on for him to try to conquer her and get Belle. Gaston also wanted to defeat the beast because it would make him look good. It would give him the recognition that he was looking for. And he couldn't stand the fact that Belle actually cared for the beast and wanted nothing to do with him. Gaston refused to believe that Belle did not want him. His overinflated ego and evil narcissism being his downfall and his literal death. Although the Bembats threw themselves at Gaston every chance they got, they didn't get the attention. They were too easy for Gaston. Gaston knew that he could have them anytime he wanted them. It wasn't that the Bembats weren't good looking, but they were too thirsty for Gaston's attention, that he always overlooked them, if only for a quick ego boost, but nothing more. I want much more than this provincial life. From Disney's Beauty and the Beast means the character Belle yearns for adventure, excitement, and intellectual depth beyond her dull, small-minded village, where every day is the same and she feels like an outsider, longing for the fantastical worlds she reads about in books, unlike the mundane, uninspired existence of her neighbors. The meaning of provincial life: dull and repetitive. The village life is monotonous, with predictable routines and a lack of new experiences or inspiration, as described in the song. Narrow-minded, the townsfolk are seen as having limited interests, focused only on trivial matters like Gaston's masculinity, while dismissing Belle's love for reading as odd. Feeling like an outsider, Belle feels she doesn't fit in, as the villagers view her as strange because she's a book-loving intellectual in a simple, uncurious community. What Belle wants instead: adventure and romance. She dreams of faraway lands, epic tales, and a life filled with the excitement found in fairy tales. Intellectual connection. She wants someone to share her love for stories and ideas with, something missing in her village. Escape. It's a desire to break free from the confines of her small world and experience something grander, leading to her journey with the beast. Belle, also known as Beauty, is someone who's free-spirited and she's empathic. Belle is the daughter of an inventor, Maurice, which also speaks to her open mind and free-spirited behavior. Free-spirited and has a knowing that she is destined for more in life. The time period is 18th century France, and a small village. During that time, women were seen as inferior to men. They were not allowed to learn how to read and write or get an education. Belle was seen as an outcast in her village due to her free-spirited nature. She is a hopeless romantic and she loves to read. Gaston wants to woo and marry Belle, but she is not interested in Gaston's self-absorbed, sexist, and narcissistic advances. Belle wanted adventure and to experience love in an unconventional way, like in the book she's read. Her fate would change the day she met Beast. Alright, so we are going to briefly touch on LeFou, which is the friend of Gaston. And we are going to briefly touch on the Bembats, which is Gaston's groupies. Now, LeFou is the friend of Gaston. I like to look at LeFou as Gaston's hype man. LeFou is there to make Gaston look good, while Gaston basically makes a fool out of himself. Funny fun fact that I discovered while doing my research on this: LeFou means the fool in French, which perfectly explains his behavior and how he acts with Gaston. He's not that bright, okay? Gaston keeps LeFou around because he is no competition to Gaston. Remember, Gaston is someone who loves attention. He likes for the spotlight to be on him. He's highly competitive, so why would he have someone around him that looks just as good as him, or can get just as much attention as not, if not more as him. We all know someone out there like that in some way, shape, form, or another. That's why I decided to do the relationship dynamics for this movie. That's why I decided to add LeFou as well as the Bimbats to show their dynamic with Gaston and how that plays a part as well. LeFou makes a fool of himself and is the laughing stock of the town, but as long as he has Gaston's approval, he doesn't seem to care. He does whatever Gaston tells him to do, is a quote unquote yes man, and hypes Gaston up when his ego takes a hit. Alright, now let's talk about the Bimbats, who's Gaston's groupies. The Bimbats, which stand for Blonde Bimbos, another fun fact that I found while researching. So the Bimbats are triplets, Laurette, Claudette, and Paulette. Who would have thought? So they are like groupies to Gaston as they fawn and gush over him, any and everything he does. They think something is wrong with Bill for not showing interest in Gaston. They are superficial and see Gaston for his outward appearance, not for his attitude. Gaston is not impressed by the Bimbats because he knows he can have them whenever he wants. Gaston's competitive nature likes the challenge of trying to hook Bill, and the Bimbats also stroke Gaston's ego as well, with their advances and reactions to him whenever he is within close proximity. That's why I love Beauty and the Beast. I have loved this movie since I was a child. It's just things about, this movie. There are people like this in our everyday lives. We know people like the Bimbats. We know people like LeFou. We have been in toxic relationships, unfortunately, with people like Gaston, or we may know of someone who's been in toxic relationships with people like Gaston. We know people who are like the Beast. We may have been in toxic relationships with people like the Beast. Now, let's not forget that the Beast also had toxic qualities as well. But the beautiful thing about the Beast is that he was able to do the work and make the necessary changes to go through that transformation. That's the beauty of it. One person was so puffed up with pride and ego and so full of themselves that you could not tell him that there was anything wrong with him. His ego would not allow him to see that anything was wrong with him. And unfortunately, the people around him within the community enabled him. I would look at that as flying monkeys. People, he can tell them anything, they'll take it and they'll believe it. Just like when he tried to convince the townspeople that Maurice was crazy. Or like when he convinced everybody that the Beast was a threat and a danger to them and their children and the village, when in fact the Beast never even came out of his castle. So, people like Gaston are just, sometimes they can just go beyond repair. There's so much damage that they have acquired, and it may not necessarily be that they put themselves in that situation. A lot of the times it can be childhood trauma, things like that causes people to grow up and act a certain way. And for others, there may be mental illnesses. But we have to remember that this is during a time period where that behavior from a man was perfectly fine. It was okay. No one saw anything wrong with it. Medical, when it comes down to mental illnesses and anything medical, they weren't that advanced with their findings, and so it wasn't even looked at as a mental illness during that time or a personality disorder. So, to answer the question, can people change? Absolutely. There are some people that can change. If you really want to change bad enough, you'll do the necessary work and you'll make the changes. You see, we have two characters here, Beast and Gaston, who were both narcissistic, both self-absorbed. They were both superficial. Only one person chose to make the necessary changes because of love. They learned how to love properly. They learned how to love the right way. While the other one, it wasn't necessarily love. I don't even know, because this is a cartoon, but we are dissecting the relationship dynamics of the characters. And as I mentioned before, I'm pretty sure we all know someone, or we know of someone who came across characters like the Beast or like Gaston, for example. There are those who choose to do the necessary work and make the changes, and there are those who, unfortunately, they never make the changes. They never get the necessary help that they need to make those changes. They remain the same, and in turn, what they end up doing is going around from one relationship to the next, spreading toxicity, the same behavior patterns, and continuing to exhibit and display the same behaviors, just creating a string of broken, toxic people from the relationship dynamic that need to heal. So, you all, if you tuned in this far, I do appreciate you so much for tuning in and sticking it out. Let me know what your thoughts are on the relationship dynamics between Belle and Gaston, Belle and the Beast, LeFou and Gaston, even the Bimbats. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section. Do you know anyone like these characters? Because how the saying goes, art imitates life. And a lot of these movies, even though they're cartoons and they're meant for children, they do depict real life situations, but it's just through a cartoon. But it's something about Beauty and the Beast. It's always been one of my favorite Disney movies ever since I was a child. And what really struck me the most was the transformation that the Beast would go through. Like, it still gives me chills to this day as an adult. So there are those people out there, if you really want to change for the better, there are people out there who they take the initiative, they go and get the necessary help. They do the healing work. And no, the healing work is not easy. But if you want to change for the better, then you have to do the necessary work. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty in the movie, Beauty and the Beast. It was Belle's love for him, Belle's unconditional love for him, that allowed him to see in himself what he needed to change. And he made those necessary changes because he loved Belle. he loved her. And love is a beautiful thing. It is a very beautiful thing. But, you know, that empath and narcissist dynamic, it's something that can be very toxic. Knowing how to compartmentalize your emotions from the other person's and not take on the other person's burdens and what they're going through. And actually, I don't want to get that deep into it. I'll talk about the empath narcissistic dynamic relationship later. But I'm glad that I could go ahead and complete this, because this was actually a project that I had started like 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I started this project and I kind of just left it sitting. Originally, it was supposed to be a PowerPoint. That's why some of the slides in the video were PowerPoint slides, because originally it was going to be a PowerPoint and I was going to talk about it. I was going to go through each PowerPoint slide and talk about it, but I decided to turn it into a video and add some clips from the movie and stuff in there, just to make it more, you know, just to give it more. And so, you know, it's not so flat. And so I had fun creating this. I will be covering another relationship dynamic very soon. I won't reveal what it is, because I was working on this one and another one around the same time. So I'm going to pick up where I left off at with the other one as well. And I can't wait to present that one to you all as well. But I'm not going to hold you guys any longer. I've been here long enough. But I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you vibe with any of my content. And until next time, everybody, take care, stay safe, be blessed. Bye-bye.